Thank you very much. Super glad to see all of you here. Very nice. When I first joined Intuit 4.5 years ago as a data scientist, like probably some of you here are, I told my manager back then that someday I would like to become a data science manager. I was already a data scientist in the industry for 5 years, but I thought that someday it would be nice to try to use other parts of my brain as well. So fast forward 4 weeks, my manager come to me with 3 management books. Okay, Shir, you wanted to be a manager? I need you to become a manager now. Yeah, you see the Intuit Israel site was growing the 8i team. Intuit, for those of you who are not familiar, is a very big financial software company in America. It has TurboTax and QuickBooks. It helps people with their taxes, with managing their small businesses, with marketing their small businesses, with the MailChimp as well. So it was growing the AI team in Israel, and he was the only leader, and he needed help with leadership. And that was my opportunity. So although I was 4 months pregnant at the time, I was the last person to say no to an opportunity, and I took on the role. I won't lie to you, my knees shook a little. But I made a lot of effort. I learned a lot. I did courses. I read books. And I'm happy to say that we learned a lot and we were successful. We were able to grow the team from 2 data scientists to 11 data scientists and really move the needle on Intuit's fraud prevention, as well as customer experiences with the AI models we developed in our team. And today, I came to share with you some of the lessons we learned, because I think that in this journey, we were really able to crack some of the code of the secret sauce of the data science management. So whether you are a manager of data science or an aspiring manager or a data scientist, and whether you work in a startup or in a corporate like Intuit, I'm sure there are some useful tips you can take from this talk to elevate your team to the next level. So we're going to talk today, first of all, about what does it mean to be a successful data science manager. And afterwards, we're going to talk about the 3 pillars of management and how we apply it in data science management. Managing down, managing across, and managing up. What does it mean when you're a data science manager and how to do it in the best way possible? This is a little bit about me. I started my journey in the Israeli Air Force as a pilot instructor for helicopters, Black Hawk and Super Stallion, where I trained pilots for emergencies, to operate emergencies on air. Later on, I went to work in 2 startups, Takadu and Bluevine. Takadu helps save water to the world using AI, and Bluevine helps small businesses with their cash flow. From there, I went to be a data scientist in Intuit, and as I told you, 4 weeks later, I became a data science manager, and then grew my team from 2 to 11 in these 4 years. In parallel to that, I also had 3 kids, Dani, Erden, and Guy. And I'm also very active in the data science and Python community. I founded the Israeli branch of PyData. Yeah. And I'm very, thank you, I'm very enthusiastic public speaker. I also founded the Israeli branch of Women in Data Science, and I'm the WIZ ambassador. And I have a podcast in Hebrew, it's called Unsupervised. It's about data science in Israel. I participate in many conferences, and I'm very, very happy to be here today. Okay, so let's talk about data science management. Sorry. It's a reminder to take my girl from kindergarten. So what does a successful data science manager look like? So I'm hopeful we can engage the crowd in this talk. So do you have any ideas? What does a successful data science manager look like? You can just say. Anyone? Come on, don't be shy. Anyone? Attentive, okay. What else? Yeah. Great. Okay, keeping the team motivated. Yeah? Oh, very, very good. Very good, important. Able to communicate the technical things to the higher management, to other levels. Great. So I loved all of the things you said. And to me, to say what something is successful is to be able to measure it. So how do we measure a data science manager? So based on my experience, there are two things you can measure pretty well. One is how much impact your team brings to the business, how much value you brings with your AI that you develop. And the second is how successful and engaged is the team. And the question is, how do we do with this? Where do I spend my time as a manager? We mentioned there are 3 pillars. We have managing up, down, and across. Where do I need to spend my time? This is a question that I used to ask a lot in the beginning as a manager. Well, the answer is it depends. It changes. You have to be adapted. You have to shift efforts according to demand, and you have to step in where you see there's a gap and put your efforts there. And the most important thing, and it was also mentioned in the previous talk, you always have to be with the growth mindset. And if you didn't read the book by Carol Dweck named Mindset, I really recommend you to read. It talks about how anything that you go through, any feedback you receive, you can use for your own good. You can use it to grow, you can use it to improve. And besides yourself, as a manager, you have the perspective. You see the entire team and how it behaves. Always be with the growth mindset and think, what can we do to get better? So let's start with managing down. Here are a few of the basics we need to start with management. Let's start with the challenge, and I want you all to think with me, what should we do in this situation? Dana received a request to build a machine learning model that would help more customers make their transaction through our product. Dana is not making progress as you would expect as a manager. What would you do? Anyone has any idea? What would you do in this kind of situation? Your employee is not making enough progress. Yeah.
Ask her what's the problem?
Okay, great. Start with asking her what's her problem. What's the problem? Yeah. Yeah, ask her how we can help. Great. Go through her current progress. Great. Anything else? Yeah?
Do we really know what progress is or what you want to accomplish?
That's a really, really great question. And that kind of brings me to my answer. The question was, do we really know what is progress and what do we expect? Okay, so this is one of the first things my manager told me about being a manager. He told me, Shir, when you're a manager, you have to give your team members 3 things: expectations, training, resources. So this really connects to what's your name? Raphael. So it's really connected to me to what Raphael said, because the first thing is pointing a finger to myself and asking, is the expectation clear? Do I set correctly? What do I want? What do I expect from Dana to achieve? So these are the 3 questions I ask myself in this kind of situation. Are the expectations clear? Does Dana have the training to achieve this expectation? And does she have the resources required to achieve this expectation? And once I figure out all of these things with myself and maybe with a conversation with Dana, I need to adapt my own management style. This is very important. Every person at every situation needs to be handled differently by their own manager. So for each situation, I ask myself, where is that person now? If a person is just starting to do a task or a goal and it's doing it for the first time, I need to adapt myself. I need to be more directive, maybe give more specific mentorship to that person. But if this person has already some experience, maybe I need to provide a little bit less directions, but more support. If the person is more of a mastering a task or a goal, then I need to be more of a coach and asking questions to unlock insights and provide stretch opportunities to that person. So it's very important to adapt yourself as a manager. But what if the person, I did all that. I gave the expectation, they figure out the training, the resources, I adapted my management style. But what if all that doesn't work and still the person is not performing as expected? So the next stage would be to give feedback. And I have a mentee, not in my company, she's also a manager in another company. And we talked about giving feedback to employees. And she told me, Shir, I don't like giving feedback to employees. I'm really afraid to do so. I'm afraid that it will make them not engaged, that they will feel unmotivated, that they wouldn't like me as a manager. And I told her, what, are you crazy? Feedback is the best gift you can give your employee. And I remind you again what we talked about in the beginning, the growth mindset, right? Feedback is an opportunity to improve, to be better. So we as manager, we have to use it to make our team be better. But we cannot just come to people and give them constructive feedback on air. We need to build a relationship with the person. We need to get to know them really well and show them that we really care about them and that we want them to develop. Then we can make feedback really count and really bring the people to the next level. So now that we're able to give someone a feedback, how do we do it? So we have a very good model called SBI feedback, situation, behavior, impact. So in our situation, I would come to Dana and I tell her, Dana, in this kind of situation, when you are on a project and you don't make enough progress, and your behavior is that you don't share with me your challenges or not tell me that you're not making enough progress, the impact is that we do not deliver on time, our management, our partners are not happy with us and they lose the trust in us. So let's work on what can we do in the future so it won't happen. Maybe we will have a certain milestone in which you share your progress. Let's work together on a plan to avoid these kind of situations in the future. So this is an example, so how you would give SBI feedback. And another very important point about feedback is that you don't only use it to give constructive feedback, but you also use it to give appreciation and to amplify good behaviors in the team. I use it very, very often with my team when someone does something very good for the team, like for example, someone built a tool that everyone can use for better monitoring machine learning models in production. Tell everyone in the team publicly, I give the feedback that, wow, this person built this tool for us. This is a great example of winning together, of bringing contribution to the team that takes our engineering excellence to the next level. So by sharing this good behavior publicly, I show everyone in the team the example of the good behaviors we would like to amplify. So don't forget, use feedback also to amplify good behaviors. Also, when someone is struggling and doing small steps in the right direction, it's also good to give them positive feedback in that situation in order to get them going in this good direction they started. So that was the basics of the basics. Now let's go up one level. And now that we have the basics covered, how do we help data scientists grow? So of course, feedback is an important tool for that, but also other tools. We need to remember that data scientists are top talent, right? These people probably have masters or PhD or learned a lot by their own. They're regular to be independent and perform research on their own, and they want to be creative. So we need to empower them. We need to make sure that as managers, we give them end-to-end ownership on the tasks they deliver on their models. We need to hold them accountable for the results. And we also need to provide them with choice. If it's possible, you know, give a few ideas of projects and let them choose, or even let them come up with their own projects. Also with the directions of research, we need to let them choose on their own, which will keep them more motivated. Something also very important to help people grow is to get to define goals together, short-term and long-term goals, and I will elaborate in a minute. And also, we need to make sure we provide data scientists with space for research in order for them to be able to be creative and innovative. And we need to find the right balance between research and delivery. So how do we define goals with people? What we do is that each person define their own goals together with the manager, with the help of the manager, and we meet every month. We have two types of goals: input goals, which are about deliverable for the business, and development goals, which is about personal development and growth. And how do we set good goals? We need to have goals that define what do we want to accomplish, and we need to align it with the business goals when it's an input goal. We need to have a measurable metric for that goal, so we would know when you achieve that goal, how you were successful. And we need to have some kind of a deadline or a milestone for that goal, so we will know when to check that we achieved it. And beside the monthly check-in, also in the end of the year, when we want to evaluate the performance of workers, we use that goals that they set to themselves and their progress according to the goal to measure their performance. And something more that we do is we have a data science rubrics for the team. Data science rubrics is by criteria that we defined in our group. For each level, we define what do we expect for this level to operate. For example, if you're a junior data scientist, we expect you for X, Y, and Z. But if you're a senior, we expect you for W and V. Okay, so it's very important also in relation to the previous talk that was here about diversity. If you have a defined criteria of what you expect from the different level of data scientists in a team, it allows you to be more exclusive and to remove the bias from how you evaluate your team members. It's also allow you to remove the bias when you hire people if you define the criteria by which you hire the people and not just say, okay, I like this person, he looks nice, I will take him, okay? So I really encourage you to work with your team or with your company to understand what do you expect from the data scientist in different level in respect to what is important in your company. Something more we do is career conversation with long-term goal. Every 6 months, I talk with my team members about what do they want to do in 5 years from now. I send them these 5 questions in advance, so they get to think about that, about what they want to do. And then we have this conversation, and then I talk with them about what are the gaps and what are the things they need to work on in order to achieve their long-term career goal. We can come up with a plan together of the certain steps they need to follow in order to get there. And the last thing about growing data scientists is about balancing between research and delivery. So some ways we found are good to allow for more research and innovation to grow in our team is doing periodical hackathons in which we stop all other works and all meetings and just code in combined groups between the team. This gives room for a lot of innovation, and a lot of our great projects started from these kind of hackathons of a few days just coding and doing ideas from the team. And we also have an ongoing long-term research track in which X% of the time we invest in developing a new technology or addressing new problems we don't usually address. And to help data scientists not to get lost inside all this research and all of these projects, I encourage you to work in small teams, have plans to what are you going to do, define the research period, when does it start, when does it end, and what is the plan, and also define standard sharing milestones and review milestones for each project. When do we do brainstorming? When do we do model review, design review, peer code review? All of these time points when data scientists are obliged to come with something to the table and present something help them not to get lost and make progress. Okay, so this was about the individual level. What about the team level? How do we build a high-performance culture in our team? So first of all, we have to have diverse skill set and experience level, and encourage sharing and learning. Something more that encourages belonging in the team is to define what is the identity of the team and even come up with a name for the team. For example, my team's name is Oz, the Data Wizards of Oz, and you can see here the small logo we have here. We even have a sticker for the laptop. I don't know if you can see it here, but it's on my laptop. Yeah. And we define together the vision and the goals for the team. So this is very helpful for the team to be motivated, to know what team do they belong, and they are also well known in the organization. This is the Oz team, and this is their delivery, so it must be very high quality. And also we have all kinds of ceremonies and standards we have in the team, like the ones written here. So I encourage you to also think what should be your team standards. What are the ceremonies you do with your team in order to make sure you deliver things in the highest standards, like what are your monitoring requirements? What is your project playbook? What are the metrics you want to measure about engineering excellence? So a little bit about our weekly team meetings. Something I always try to do as a manager is to be very transparent with the team and share my own lessons and even failures with the team and what I've learned. This encouraged the team to have psychological safety in those team meetings and really bring them to the table and let them be able to share from their own learnings and perspective. We have an open agenda in the team meeting. We have a Google Doc, and each team member can add their own items to the agenda. So, of course, they are shy to do so in the beginning. So what I do is, in the one-on-ones I have with them on a weekly basis, if I see something interesting they have learned and they have done, or they have some challenge they need some ideas about, I encourage them to add it to the agenda, or I even add it for them to the agenda, and then we use the team meeting to consult to each other, to learn from each other, and to share the best practices and learnings. And also something very cool and interesting we do in the team meetings, it's called rainbows and butterfly. And what it means is a ceremony that in the beginning of the team meetings, each person can say thank you to another person from the team about something nice or good that this person did for him or for the team. So this started the team meeting with a really great atmosphere, and it's also a great opportunity to amplify good behaviors within the team. Something more that we do within the team is the quarterly retrospective planning. So this is a ceremony in which each of the projects in the team define for the next quarter the from-to goals from this project. For example, we want to move these business metrics from X to Y in this quarter. This is what we evaluate we would achieve. And the different team members present their goals to the project to each other. It is an opportunity for them to learn from one another and also ask questions and advise and contribute. And it is an opportunity for us as a team to do prioritization by impact, because we know for each project what do we expect from that project to happen, where do we expect to achieve, so we can put more resources in projects that we know that would be more impactful by the from-to goals we have. This is data-driven decision-making, which is very important to be inclusive and to have the right decisions. And after we have this prioritized plan we build as a team, we share it with the partners in the company and also with the leadership. So we create an aligned, prioritized roadmap, which is very important for transparency and to achieve the support and resources we need from our partners and leadership. So this all was about managing down. And what about managing across? So I want to ask you once again, when you are working with people in your company which are not data scientists, like engineers or product managers or analysts or different other managers in the company, what are the challenges that you have? Okay, so can someone say? Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, expectation management. Yeah. Okay. What else? Yeah.
X and Y problem?
What?
The X and Y problem?
External.
In which people think you want to explain. So Y, but then you explain X, and then you solve the wrong problem.
Oh, that you don't understand what problem you're solving.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a very good problem. Yeah. Yes.
Explaining how data science works.
Oh, yeah, that's very good. Yeah.
Figuring out responsibilities.
Figuring out the responsibilities. Perfect. What else? Yeah? Oh, very good. Understanding that their priorities are not necessarily our priorities. What else? Yeah.
Well, we are taken as the technical guys and cannot really say anything else or comment on anything else because we don't understand that.
Oh, we're taken as the technical guys and can give our opinions on other things because we know only about the technical stuff. Okay, these are all great things, and I felt all of these too, so I understand you guys, and I made some cartoons to show a little bit about some of the regular conversations we have with people around us. This, for example, is the data scientist, and this is the product manager. So the product manager would usually ask, why does it take so long, right? And they ask, why do you need my help? Just do it. And why don't you just retrain your model? Or I want 99% accuracy. And the data scientist might feel, but well, what the data is so noisy and it's not relevant to solve this problem at all, or what is the relevant business metric we want to measure, or what's the problem we're trying to solve, right? Someone said this before. So all of this can happen, and all of this probably happened to some of you. So here, let's dive into one of those challenges. For example, we have a PM that we are working with, and he wants us to deliver a solution with 75% precision. But due to the limitation of our data, we can actually only achieve 50% precision. So what can we do in this situation? Any ideas from the crowd? Yeah. Okay, challenge, but what else? But challenge it, yeah.
Change the scope somehow.
Oh, great idea. Change the scope somehow, yeah. Okay, suggest to iterate. Okay, yeah.
Ideally, we should discover what is possible first and then try to hack the problems that we think we can solve instead of making a waterfall. We want to solve the problem and set the work on the iteration.
Yeah. Try to start with discovering what is even possible with this problem, right? Yeah.
Think whether challenge together with the PM whether precision is the right metric.
Very good. Try to understand whether precision is even the right metric. Okay, so let's continue. In this situation, well, this is kind of a crucial conversation, right? Because we are only able to give something to the product manager, and he's not happy because he wants something else from us. So in this kind of crucial conversation, I really recommend you to read the book Crucial Conversation. It's really good. It describes how to behave in this kind of conversation when your palms get sweaty. Yeah, conversation when you know it's going to be hard, and how to approach them. So this is just a side recommendation. And besides that, I encourage you to first of all listen. Okay, what does the PM really want, right? Is this even the right problem we are solving, or is this the right metric we are aiming for, precision? Maybe something else can be achieved in a different kind of solution. And also try to understand what's really possible, and maybe demonstrate to the product manager, well, maybe you have some kind of a benchmark you can show from a similar problem. Well, look, this is only what can be achieved in these type of problems, okay? So you can't ask me to go that high. Or provide some kind of upper bounds, which is some kind of a mathematical proof. And also, maybe we can try to ask for more data. Maybe it can help us achieve better results. So this is what we can do at the point of time of the conflict. But what can we do to proactively avoid conflicts like this with partners. So what we did is we tried to talk with our partners about how do we work together. We tried to, as you can see, we tried to achieve for world peace between the AI team and all the partners teams. And by talking, we are investing in creating trust and alignment. And this is a link to a blog post I wrote about it that I can share with you later. And what does it mean? So basically what we did is we sat down, me and my partners, the product manager, the leading analyst, the leading engineer, all of the management team, and talked about how do we work together. And then we wrote together a document called the Project Playbook. And the Project Playbook basically defines what do we do when we deliver AI products to production. How do we start? How do we finish? What goes on in the middle? What are the different stages? Who contribute and who needs to approve each stage? And how long do we expect each stage to take? So we wrote it together, and we defined that the success metric for this kind of documents is to achieve 0 conflicts with our partners, to solve all of those problems we talked about that we have. So I encourage you to try to sit down with your partners and talk about, not about a specific project, but in general, how do we want to work together and how do we see our joint work? Clarify the expectations, as someone said before. So here is some of the things we discussed and that are included in this playbook. First, we defined project prerequisites. What do we need to even start working or start exploring an AI project? We need to define a customer problem, and we need to make it clear for everyone to make sure we're not solving the we're solving the right problem and not something else. And we need to understand what is the ideal state. And we need for this problem to be significant enough to even invest data scientists, because as you know, data scientists, machine learning engineers, all of these people are very expensive resources. We need to make sure we're investing these resources in something that really counts for the company. We need to make sure that we have enough available relevant data to solve the problem, and that we have committed partners, people that are working with us on the integration and the development, so we won't develop something that won't even get to be called by anyone. And we need to make sure that a simple solution was already tested, because we don't want to go and solve a problem that can be solved with just a basic business rule, right? So what do we need all the efforts for? So these are our project prerequisites. And for the rest of the playbook, we wrote it guided by D4D. It's principles that we use at Intuit that represent how we innovate at our company. So first of all, we have deep customer empathy. We started really deep understanding of the customer problem by doing Follow Me Homes, which is a ceremony in which we talk with the customer and really understand their problem deeply to be able to define it correctly. We go broad and then go narrow. We try to look for many, many ideas to how to solve the problem and then narrow it down. And we do rapid experimentation. We don't go and develop something many, many months and then go out to the sun. But every few weeks, we iterate what we already have to get some kind of feedback and see that we are in the right direction. So in the playbook, we have different stages. The very first stage is to identify the mission team to deliver the project, because data scientists are not enough. We need to have engineers and product developers and product manager and analysts, and we need to start meeting. We need to put in the calendar a weekly meeting for this project in which we discuss the problem, what we are solving, the progress, the plans, and we keep on aligning on these plans. In this mission team, we write together the customer problem and the ideal state. And this is the format of the customer problem we use at Intuit, which basically says, okay, what is the customer problem we're solving? What is the benefit we're trying to achieve? What kind of improvement would it bring to the business? What business metric we will move, and how much will we move it? So this is all very, very important also to align the expectations, to understand these things from the beginning. We need to understand the business metrics and the suitable business metrics that we're aiming to move. And then we need to define some data exploration period that would help us give us time to explore the data, to actually understand, do we have our prerequisites? Is it enough time? Is there enough relevant and sufficient data to solve the problem? And what is the potential that we can achieve? So if we go back to our challenge from before with the demanding PM, we need to, from the beginning, say our potential. Where can we even get to? So in order for later not to have the PM say, okay, but I want 75% precision, but this is not even possible. So from the beginning, do an exploration and say, okay, this is the highest we think we can get. And after we have some initial exploration and research, we align on a roadmap for the solution to be delivered, and we keep reiterating the solution, as we said, with the product manager to get feedback. So here are some more tips on working with partners. Very important for any data scientist or for any manager. First of all, we want to listen. We want to invest time in building relationship. As a manager, I meet with all the manager of my partner teams to have a direct channel to them to get their feedback on the progress of their team, on the behavior of the team, if they are happy on working with us, and if they see some challenges that they are not happy about. We also want to make time to learn the business, to really help us not being just the technical guys, and someone said here, but people that actually understand the business and be able to contribute to it with our data and insights. We want to understand the priorities and challenges, and that will help us help the business. And we want to define the projects from our partners' eyes, and not just from the data science side eyes, and by their metrics, by the business metrics that they look at. Next thing is to have transparency at all stages. So as we said, we have recurring project meetings. And for these meetings, we also send meeting summaries. If there are important action items for everyone to know about, it's very easy that everything is transparent in the meeting summaries. And we use those meetings to have constant alignment on the roadmap. We always look at the roadmap so everyone will know when do we expect things to come out. And the last thing is that we keep on working to improve our collaboration by doing retrospective sessions with our partners to learn, and we update our project playbook as we go because there's always things we can add. Give credit to other people on their work when the credit is due. We have this mechanism in Intuit called Spotlight of recognition, in which you can recognize the contribution of someone to a project. So I encourage you to think about ways to give credit to your partners on their contribution. This will help you speed up the process of delivering your AI projects by giving credit to people. I encourage you also to work on the business long-term vision and see how the insights you have from the perspective of data science to give to the business a long-term strategy. And I also encourage you to invest in educating your partners about what is AI and how does our work look like. Bring them more into the details so they can understand your side of the problem as well. And also do some fun stuff together. That's always helpful. Two more important things about the playbook, and it's a big document. I can share later also the blog I wrote about it. Before we go to production, we have a model sign-off process in which we share with all the stakeholders that the model relates to them the results from the silent release of the model or from the A/B test, so everyone will know exactly what the model is going to do before it's turned on. We share with everyone the dashboards, the business dashboards, as well as the performance dashboards with all the metrics. And we create all the relevant post-production communication channel. For example, we have a channel in Slack to ask questions about the model if people are not sure about the model results. And we define some kind of an incident management process for the model. And after going to production, of course, we need to have monitoring with all the dashboards and alerts. We have to look at business as well as engineering metrics in this monitoring. We have to define what are the conditions in which we retrain the model, because otherwise the PM can come after a few months and tell us, well, why don't you just retrain the model now? And I will just say, no, but it wouldn't give anything. So we need to think together in which condition we do a retrain. Maybe below some threshold, or maybe in some condition where the data changed drastically. So I really encourage you to think about all of these things and define them in advance once you deliver the models. You might also consider to build an auto-retrain pipeline if this is a very important model and the data changes a lot. I also encourage you to do a retrospective after delivery to understand what can we do better for the next time. And continue meeting about this project, even if the model is already in production. It's a very important model now, right? It's working, it's answering some question, it's solving some use case. We need to see it's still on track even months later. So continue to meet and monitor the model together and see that everyone is happy with it. So the last part, and don't worry, it will be very short, just one slide, is about managing up to our leadership. We talked about managing down, managing across, and now managing up. What does it even mean? So first of all, managing up, the first thing about it is to understand how can you help your manager succeed. Because as a manager, this should be your primary goal. You need to make sure your manager is successful, your manager is happy and well appreciated, because it all comes down back to you. If your manager is successful, then you are successful. Your manager gets resources and interesting projects, you get these things. And very important to define and share the vision and scope with your team. It will help your manager represent you with the higher leadership and give you everything that you need. And to align the work your team does to the company goals. So everyone would know what does this AI really contribute to our company. It's very helpful to communicate the team plans and also communicate the achievements we did in the past. We use the quarterly planning sessions to do that. We invite all the partners, but also the leadership, so they would see our plans and they would also see all of our achievements. And we, as managers, also need to find opportunities to share the teamworks and let the team members share their work on their own. It's very important, so everyone would know all the great stuff that we are doing. And something more that I do, and many people are very surprised by this, I collect feedback actively. I have a Google Doc in which I just copy-paste or write down when people give me or my team feedback, and I share this Google Doc with my manager once a month, so my manager would know what does people in my company think about my team and about me, and how well are we doing. This is very helpful for the manager to see that. Think about it. And all of this basically is an investment in the future of your team. Making your manager happy, making your manager think that you're on track and that you're delivering good things for the company will help you get more resources, get recs, and get new projects which are impactful and interesting and aligned with the vision of your team. So, to summarize, the data science manager's role is basically to create the platform for the team to succeed and grow. And we do that by three things: managing down, encouraging growth, innovation, and building a high-performance culture. By managing across, creating trust and alignment with our partners, creating the right processes for the project to succeed. And managing up, sharing and communicating with our manager the vision and achievements of the team, and by that investing in the future of the team. So, thank you very much, and I will take questions now.
Thanks a lot, Shir. So the most upvoted question is actually, a lot of people took pictures of your slides. Would you mind sharing them somewhere?
Sure, yeah, I can share the slides somewhere. Maybe PyCon has some kind of platform for that.
I'll have it as a question. I guess you can update it in the description, so I think you might find it then in the description just of this talk.
Yeah, and I guess there will be some kind of video, right, shared in YouTube.
Also, yep.
So you can also use it from there. But I'm happy to share the slides. Also, you can email me if you want, and I can share the slides with you.
So, do you think technical knowledge is inevitable for a good data science manager?
Oh, that's a great question. I have so many discussions about this with people, and I think it kind of depends on which level of management you're talking about. If you're a first-line manager and you manage a team of data scientists directly and not manager of data scientists, I think that technical knowledge is crucial. But with that, I think you don't have to be, you know, the most experienced data scientist in your team to be a good data science manager. You need to be good enough data scientist to understand the work, to understand the challenges, and of course you need to be a good manager and invest in all the things we talked about. So it's a kind of combination, and as you go up the leadership ladder, so the details, of course, of the technical parts matter less. Yeah.
Great. So the next question is, how do you make sure research track time is not used as buffer that is always used for origin tasks?
That's a great question. And actually how we implement the research track is not always by 5% or 10% of the ongoing tasks. It is sometimes like a quarter that someone takes to research something. After, for example, after a big delivery, someone would take a quarter now to just research a new direction. So this is also, you know, a more effective way to deliver it. And something else, if you do use it as a 10% or 50% track, then you can make sure you just block some day in your calendar to do some concentrated research work. So that's a tip I always give my people. But it's basically a question of discipline, you know, how much you enforce yourself to really apply it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. So, what do you think should be the policy for firing people? For example, Netflix has the mentality that good performance gives you a nice leave bonus.
I didn't understand the question.
To be honest, I'm sure. I can repeat it.
I was the one.
Okay, yeah.
Great.
So, for example, should the mentality for holding someone in the team, let's think strictly on a performance base, be of if we keep going on the team only if you are very, very good performance, so the example from Netflix, and then low to medium performance should leave the team, and then you enforcedly make them leave the team? Or should you just keep low performing the team until they leave?
Well, I think that in general, I didn't have the pleasure yet to fire people, fortunately. But I think that you don't want low performers in your team because they affect badly other team members. Because if someone in your team sees that someone else can, you know, not do much and stay in your team, then it reflects on them. And also they might be dependent of this person work. So in general, you don't want low performance people in your team. And if someone gets to the point when he's low performing, then or she's low performing, then it's the obligation of the manager to communicate the expectations to this person and reflect to them, you know, their current situation, give them feedback and give them consistent feedbacks a few times and document the process. And if after you know, X times of consistent feedback there is no improvement, then yeah, this person should be fired because, you know, company should in the end produce some results. You can't just pay people for being low performers. I hope did that answer your question?
So, sorry, how much does define low performance for you? For how long and like for how much, for example, 6 months?
Usually, most of the companies that I know of have something called PEEP, that is Performance Improvement Plan, which I think is about 3 months or 4 months that someone has to be communicated, and it's in the situation, and that it get an opportunity to get improved. But even before you get into the PEEP situation, your manager should be transparent enough to give you the feedback and to help you improve. And I think that if a person really wants to improve and really suitable for a certain role, then he or she will improve. But maybe this person is just not suitable and could find himself better in another position or another company. So maybe it would be better for him or her to leave if they're not able to perform.
Thanks. I think we have time for 3 more questions maybe. So what book influenced your thinking the most on this topic?
That's a great question because, as I mentioned, I really love books. I read a lot of them. I think the most basic one is The Effective Manager. So if you're starting to be a manager, I really recommend you to read that one. And another one that was also, mind-blowing for me is Multipliers, which talks about how we as manager and we in general as leaders of anything in companies need to not be the smartest person in the room, but help others be smarter. So because together, when we are all working together, we can reach much further, and not just make ourselves be the best on the expense of other people.
Thanks. What's the biggest mistake you made when you started out as a manager?
Well, I did many mistakes. One mistake we did was actually to take on a project. I was not a manager then. I was just starting being a data science lead, but afterwards I transitioned to a manager with this project. And we started working on the project with a company that it wasn't clear. It was an anomaly detection work in security, and it wasn't clear who would actually use the result of the anomaly detection system. And I think maybe some of you are also familiar with this kind of system. Someone comes to you and say, oh, we have a lot of data, please do some anomaly detection from it because maybe there would be some security breach or something like that. But no one really has the tools or maybe the times to actually consume the alerts the system brings out. So my lesson from that is to make sure that if you write some system, someone uses the output it gets out.
Thanks. One last question. So I think it's easy and hard to answer. Is there tension between time spent developing goals, making plans and reviews, etc., and time spent doing applied data science work?
Probably mean as a manager, right?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, well, of course. And I remember myself in the first 2 years being a manager, always, with the tension, with the boundaries of how much hands-on work should I do and how much should I invest in management. And I think it really depends on where you work and how big is your team. Because when you work in a corporate and you have a lot of, bureaucracy and a lot of management stuff that you need to do, then you have less and less time for coding. So as the team grew, I think in about 7 people, I understood that I can't be much hands-on, and the best use of my time would be to invest in more of long-term planning, in developing my team members, because it would be the most effective investment for me as a manager. And I found myself doing hands-on work mainly in hackathons, which is, I mentioned, are very, very important for me.
Great. Thank you very much. Let's give her one round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shir.